we shouldn't ignore what's really happening here. It's not that the MAGA movement cares deeply about Charlie Kirk, it's that they're using him as part of a larger effort to raise money and expand Donald Trump's political project built on misleading narratives. One of those narratives tries to recast Charlie Kirk not as a controversial figure, but as some kind of civil rights leader. That's simply not true. It's just one of many examples of the misinformation that has been coming out of this administration, which is showing more and more signs of falling apart. A perfect example of this dynamic, both the instability inside Trump's political circle and the way they attempt to profit from it, is the sudden resignation of a loyal Trump ally. We're going to break down what that departure means and how it ties into the chaos within MAGA world. But before we get into the details of that resignation, I want to start with the threats Donald Trump has been making against his own officials, all while a potential government shutdown looms. A moment that has clearly put him under enormous pressure. And before we dive deeper, if you could take a second to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, it really helps support our work.
Mr. President, furloughs are very typical when the government shuts down. Why is the administration directing federal layoffs of federal workers this time around?
Well, this is all caused by the Democrats. They asked us to do something that's totally unreasonable. They never change. They want to give money away to illegals, illegally, people that entered our country illegally. They want to give them massive federal money. And we don't want to do that because it means everyone's going to just keep pouring back. Right now, we have absolutely perfect borders like you haven't seen in many years, even better than I had great borders during my 4 years, but these borders are stone cold closed. You can only come into our country legally now, but the Democrats want to give it all away. They want to open up the borders. Take a look at that. Big thing. They want to open borders again after what we're going through now, getting rid of prisoners, getting rid of all of these people dropped out from mental institutions, drug dealers, drug addicts, everything. They're putting everybody into our country. It's all ended now. But this is what Schumer wants. This is what the Democrats want. They want to have, and they want to take our money. We're doing well because of tariffs. We're doing unbelievable. We're making more money than we ever.
Donald Trump is pushing two very different narratives at the same time. The first is that he won an overwhelming majority in the 2024 election and secured a cultural victory that proves he's the most popular president in modern history. But at the same time, he wants people to believe that Democrats are the ones responsible for governing. That if the government shuts down, it's their fault, not his. That simply isn't the case. Trump is now threatening mass firings of federal workers if he doesn't get exactly what he wants. Why? Because he's seeking loyalty from government employees who should be serving the public, not pledging allegiance to him. He's also trying to pressure Democrats into making concessions, including cuts to programs like Medicaid. Senator Chris Murphy was one of the people who called this out clearly, and it's important we highlight that perspective before we dive into the shock resignation we'll be covering in just a moment.
Congress has to pass the annual budget this month, or there's going to be a shutdown at the end of September. Here's the two most important things that we all need to be paying attention to, that Democrats need to be fighting for at the negotiating table. First, there's going to be a healthcare meltdown in this country later this year. All of the cuts that Republicans made earlier this year to Medicaid and to the Affordable Care Act, you're going to start seeing massive premium increases, people losing healthcare all across the country this fall. If you're on an affordable healthcare plan, if you bought your healthcare off of your state-based or national healthcare exchange, you could be seeing a 75% increase in your premiums later this year. And so as we debate and negotiate the budget for the coming year, we've got to stave off what will be an absolute disaster for millions of Americans. The second important thing is that this budget is not going to be worth the paper it's written on if Donald Trump continues to act illegally. What Donald Trump is basically saying is that he's not going to pay attention to anything that we write in this budget. He'll spend the money he wants to spend, and he won't spend the money that he doesn't want to spend. Now, the Constitution doesn't allow the president to do that, But Donald Trump continually is telling Congress that he is only going to implement the parts of the budget that align with his personal, political, and financial interests. We can't allow that to stand. That's not how a democracy works. We are not living in a democracy if the President of the United States ignores the budget that Congress writes. And so we have to have provisions in this budget that we're going to pass later this year that require Donald Trump to obey the law and to actually spend the money on the programs that Congress authorizes. So the healthcare system is about to go into a downward spiral. We've got to fix that this month. And we got to make sure that Donald Trump isn't allowed to continue to act in a brazen, illegal way, ignoring the laws that Congress writes. This is a big month for the rule of law. It's a big month for our democracy. It's a big month for working families out there who might be on the verge of seeing an enormous increase in healthcare costs.
All right, so Donald Trump is threatening mass firings if there is a government shutdown. But if there isn't a government shutdown and we go along with Donald Trump's budget, it's going to result in millions of people losing their health care. Right now is an opportunity for Democrats to take a stand and make it very clear that we are actually willing to fight against Donald Trump. Because as Senator Murphy says, his budget means nothing. The laws on the books mean nothing if Donald Trump won't abide by them. So we should stop treating these people like they're good faith actors. And the same has to be said again around Charlie Kirk, which is why the shock resignation of a Trump stooge in pursuit of those Charlie Kirk bucks is very interesting to me. Oklahoma superintendent who put Trump Bibles in classrooms resigns. Ryan Walters, who has led Oklahoma public schools since 2022, is quitting to run a conservative education nonprofit. Oklahoma's superintendent, who has attracted national attention as he sought to install religion and right-wing viewpoints in Oklahoma schools, will resign to run a conservative educational nonprofit. Ryan Walters, who has led public schools in Oklahoma since 2022, has put Donald Trump-endorsed Bibles into classrooms and required teaching 2022 election conspiracies. He is leaving the post to lead the Teacher Freedom Alliance, which says its mission is to help teachers develop free, moral, and upright American citizens. On its website, the group is touting Walters as its new leader. Walters fearlessly fights the woke liberal union mob, TFA, will make the fight straight to the unions and will not stop. The website says, "Together, we will build a national movement that is centered on freedom and common sense, not on bullying and intimidation." Walters announced this move on Fox on Wednesday night, teasing his appearance by writing on X, "Liberals' worst nightmare is about to come true." A local Fox affiliate reported tallied more than 400 national media appearances in the past 2 years by Walters as he sought to raise his profile nationally while pursuing a Christian nationalist agenda in Oklahoma. Walters has repeatedly pushed Christianity into public schools in Oklahoma. He once tried to require schools to play a video of him praying. He advocated for the country's first Catholic public charter school. This week, he called for chapters of Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA in all Oklahoma schools. With Charlie Kirk stepping aside, there's been a wave of MAGA-aligned influencers rushing to fill the space and chase big donor money. For all of his controversies, Kirk was skilled at building out a media operation, and that's what he was ultimately known for. Despite the attempts to frame him as something more, he wasn't a defender of free speech or civil rights. He was a political figure who used social media to push divisive narratives, and now he's moving on, seeking billionaire dollars outside of his role as a Trump ally. This shift highlights the broader struggle inside MAGA world. They're trying to rebrand, to capture younger audiences, and to convince people that Donald Trump offers something better. But the reality for many young Americans tells a different story. Recent graduates are facing rising costs, limited job opportunities, unaffordable housing, and soaring utility bills. The economic pressures are pushing many in the younger generation away from Trump's vision, not toward it. At the same time, there are efforts to install groups like Turning Point in schools and colleges under the banner of free speech. Yet these efforts often reveal the opposite, using political influence to impose an agenda rather than promote true freedom. What's clear is that much of this is driven by money and influence, just like Kirk's career itself. And no one made that point more effectively than Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, whose words cut right to the heart of this ongoing grift.
I do want to point out that's not been laid out that honestly hurts my heart is when I saw the no votes, there were only 2 Caucasians. For the most part, the only people that voted no were people of color, because the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk continuously put out there was rhetoric that specifically targeted people of color. And so it is unfortunate that even our colleagues could not see how harmful his rhetoric was specifically to us. And I can tell you that a month prior to him passing away, he had actually gotten out on his podcast. I wasn't aware of this at the time, but he got out there and he was talking negatively about me directly. So if there was any way that I was going to honor somebody who decided that they were just going to negatively talk about me and proclaim that I was somehow involved in the great white replacement, yeah, I'm not honoring that kind of stuff, especially as a civil rights attorney and understanding how I got to Congress, knowing that there were people that died.
If we allow Donald Trump to rewrite history and paint Charlie Kirk as some kind of incredible leader, then we're losing the messaging battle before it even begins. We can't afford to let that happen. More Democrats should be speaking with the clarity and conviction of leaders like Jasmine Crockett. And on this show, we're committed to doing just that. If you'd like to support this work, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you made it to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.